by the Latina accent, or anything that's what they would deem exotic. And for a lot of them, exotic is just different or non-American or different than them. I definitely peeped that. I feel like if this would have been this foundational Black woman that he pretends he's sticking up for, he would have been much more aggressive. He would have been much more offensive. And I think that any of his defensive and offensive tactics were only shown once he realized that he couldn't make a fool out of her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. Because the thing of it is, I've seen and you've seen Black women who have challenged how aggressive he comes at them. He comes at them very, very aggressively. He'll degrade their looks. As you guys saw in my situation, he made up rumors. He went to the childish antics of talking about puppets. And so you guys know how he regards women who are actually Black versus women who are not. Now, this chick haven't even said that she wasn't Black. She hasn't even said that she wasn't an Afro-Latina at all. She never denied it. In fact, she's adamantly denying the notion that she's Spanish. She's actually saying she's never said that. So she says in here that she claims her Blackness, yet because he regards her as non-Black, he's showing more respect for her than I've seen him show any respect for any actual Black woman, a foundational Black woman, as he likes to call them. And it is because he doesn't see her as Black. He sees her as better and therefore more deserving of respect. But let's continue. Hey, Irene. I'll send Irene Irene, I'm throwing you a link too, but let me continue.
Very, very specifically, so I'm clear, okay? I'm talking about the hypersensitivity on social media. There's a large demographic of African Americans. I didn't say all Black, okay? I didn't say anything about me claiming Spaniard. I mean, you ran off at the mouth. Puerto Rico this, Puerto Rico that. Spaniards this, Spaniards. I don't claim Spain, papi. I don't claim Spain.
Well,
I don't claim our conquerors.
Most Puerto Ricans claim they're Spanish.
And I know that.
Right.
But that has nothing to do with me. So I would have preferred that you hit me up. I mean, because you was on my page. So I would have preferred that you hit me up and be like, yo, explain this shit.
Well,
and I could have
pretty much explained how you felt in your thing, sweetie.
And then you took your interpretation, you put it through your filter, and it came out through your interpretation. That's different than what I was saying.
I mean, but the way you said it, I was just playing your own words. With this Blackness, we look at it like a scam. You got to keep picking at.
Yeah, but didn't you? Okay, didn't you embellish though? Didn't you embellish, Tariq?
No, because
you didn't embellish.
I played your clip, sweetie, of you talking about how Black Americans look at our Blackness like a scam.
Like, do y'all see how polite he is?
But a projection.
Very polite, and he's not offended by what she said. And I kind of and I guess it'll come out more within the conversation when she was saying that, that some Black people view their Blackness as a scab that they keep picking at, and she made reference to the hypersensitivity and the emotionalism. That's a real thing. So I'm not sure, if he got that, but you can tell from the conversation and his energy right now, it's just cute. I'm talking to the girl with the accent. And I'd like to say also, when he said, well, I'm calling you guys Spanish, because it's very rare. You don't hear a lot, depending on which Latin country they come from or which Latin culture it is, most people aren't calling each other Spanish.
Right.
And I believe that one of the reasons why, and I'm not sure, because I've never even, I just learned from the chat that she's actually a content creator. I've never heard her, I would think that she was saying that she didn't refer to herself as Spanish because she may just have some pride in her Blackness, because we know that if you are claiming Spain, you are claiming to be a Spaniard, you're claiming to be white.
Right.
So that would probably be right. But I think that, especially based on how he is approaching this, he is definitely toying with Black people, and right now toying with Black women's emotions. And what he wanted to do to me is he's trying to set her up to be the white Latina that that Black women are supposed to be at odds with.
When and Ren had a good point. She said he would never tolerate a Black woman talking to him like that. A Black woman doesn't even have to talk to him like that, and he'll do it. Like a Black woman doesn't even have to, because again, even when there was the back and forth between me and him, I never approached him aggressively. I simply made a post about a video where he's talking about he'll hold up the European flag in a bedroom, although he's very pro-Black, which you're not pro-Black if you're going to wave the European flag in the bedroom. Some would say you're not.
Absolutely not. And he's highly anti-Black women. So I was really triggered listening to all of this, because he is absolutely against Black women. He's done. Isn't this the same guy that said Black women don't even deserve reparations if they're single mothers? Mm-hmm. I just don't understand. Like, throughout this conversation, I was so triggered. I cannot believe that he's allowed, like many other people do in the YouTube space, to do stuff like this and act like they didn't say something completely contrary 6 months ago without getting the understanding why their perspective is different. So now he's all about this FBA stuff. But last year, was he pro-Black woman then? Was he worried about, how a quote unquote Spanish woman may be at odds with a Black woman, or how a Spanish woman was reacting in a conversation? He wasn't worried about these things last year. He was not concerned about this stuff. So it's really predatory, actually.
It is, and the thing of it is hey Irene, welcome to the panel. His group of Dusties, they have the same mentality as him, as I pointed out before. Irene, were you able to hear? Did you want to comment on what you heard, or do you want to hear more first?
No, I want to hear more, because I'm not a fan of Tariq Nesheed. He just seems like a whole phony to me, but I am interested to hear if he allows her to embellish on this scab comment, because I'm real curious where she's taking that.
Yeah, I was curious too, because I was thinking in my head, she could take that so many different places, and she could be correct depending on the places that she takes it, because I think there's some truth to what she's saying in a number of different ways.
Yeah, I think that I think she was talking about the emotionalism and because she was talking about a whole bunch of conversations about Black people being overly sensitive, saying everything is anti-Black. And I find myself saying the same thing, that the emotionalism with Black people, everything that we encounter is not racism. Some of it is something different, but we relate everything to racism, and to the point where we dilute and diminish actual racism and discrimination. I kind of think that's where she's going with that comment.
Exactly. I think that she is too, and we will definitely end up getting more into that. Y'all don't have to block. You can time out the Dusties, but they don't. For that comment, him saying he hope Tariq sues me for defamation of character, I hope he tries. I hope he tries to, because I'm looking for. I get great excitement out of being in a courtroom, so I hope he tries.
And how? How's it a projection?
That sounds like some of that Latina stuff where y'all project some of the issues you have with your Blackness. That's what that sounds like.
I know, but that's why you have to ask for clarification. Okay? I'm very proud of my African roots. I do not claim Spaniard. When I say my makeup, I never claim Spain. But you went on a tangent about me claiming Spain, and that was wrong information.
I was talking about Puerto Ricans. Many of them in general claim Spain. They claim
I know that.
Spanish. So
of course, I know that.
But you
want me to pause it, Nyla?
Just for 1 second, because I want Black women to hear what he's doing right now. Okay, with the advent of this foundational Black American thing, and anything that's going on in the media right now, anybody can become pro-Black. Anybody all of a sudden, because it's trending and it's something that everybody's talking about, and even the white people are going around talking about the plight of Black people, anybody can become pro-Black. And granted, I understand that Tariq has always had the undertones of being pro-Black while doing an action that is completely different. And I will remove the fact that he did, he did Hidden Colors. And I think that there was some benefits to that as well. So I'm not going to take that away from him. But he comes into the conversation and he starts saying, well, these Spanish women and what y'all do and how y'all like to do. That's for the women in the chat. That is for Black women. That is for Black to be triggered by her so that we can not listen to the context of what she's saying, but be triggered by what he's projecting onto her. He is a master deflection. You have to remember, we're dealing with somebody that used to be a quote unquote pimp. So you have to understand that not only is he a wordsmith, but he also knows how to twist and turn and speak to your emotions and make you respond to what he's saying. So that act that he's doing, and he's going to continue this throughout the video, he is literally just trying to throw Black women off in this conversation and point their daggers towards her and forget how he doesn't think they're supposed to have reparations, how he thinks that white women's children are better than you. He's trying to make you forget that and point your daggers towards her.
Can I ask, am I going crazy? Is he still with the same chick? The next chick?
He's still with her.
Does her white mother still live with them?
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like this is really disingenuous, him trying to mince, you claim the Spanish, indicating
Absolutely.
that there's some admixture there, right? But clearly admixture doesn't matter. Obviously his woman claims the white, and he takes care of her white mother, so he should not be calling anybody out, even if she was claiming the Spanish side of her. It's just very hypocritical. Like, what's the problem? You don't have a problem with the white side of your girl, so why have a problem with the white side of this woman? I don't understand the point in pointing it out.
Right. He should almost just shut up when it comes to this, because he's sitting there in the house with and providing for his ex-law enforcement white, she's his white mother-in-law was law enforcement, whom he calls what? Race soldiers, right? So you in your home, you are providing for, vacationing with, and breaking bread with a white female Karen race soldier and her daughter. So there's a certain sort of grace, for lack of better words, that he's supposed to have when entering these conversations that he doesn't have. And it's only because Black people will not hold his ass to the wall. Won't hold him to the wall.
Well, they won't, and it's because that's what I was going to say. Look at his crowd of people and his followers. There are a bunch of Black men who, I want to read Queen Maud's comment because it's actually instrumental to what I'm about to say. She said Tariq is basically trying to shame Latino people for being nationalistic and proud of their own. That's the same dusty tactic most Black men use on YouTube. It is a tactic, and it's interesting because they don't have any pride in their own. They don't have any pride in their own. Black people try to escape their Blackness and disassociate themselves from their roots all day, every day. And I find it quite interesting that he's trying to say, oh, you attach yourself to Spain, when he wants to say you should be attaching yourself to your African roots, i.e. Afro-Latino. But we hear Black people all over social media all the time, specifically on YouTube, detaching themselves from their African lineage. So, and it's particularly his followers who decided they're Moorish, sovereign, Aboriginal citizens, i.e. not Black. They'll sit here and talk about how they're not Black all day, every day. So it's interesting that he's trying to make that shaming tactic, like she said, when his very followers do the same thing, except about their Blackness. But let's continue, because there's no pride among the people. There's no Black pride in the people who follow Tariq. It's just trending for the sake of trending.
It's like misery, you want company, all this stuff. What was all that about? What was that about?
So this is very, very specifically. There is a demographic, specifically on social media, of Black Americans that are hypersensitive to everything. And what I was saying was, stop letting people bait you about your Blackness. That's what I was saying. Any little thing sets them off. That's what I was saying. But you went off talking about Spaniards, this, that, and the third. I've never claimed Spain. That's why I was thinking.
Let's unpack what you're saying, Jen. Okay. Black people being sensitive about what? Black Americans being sensitive about what?
Say that again?
What are Black Americans being sensitive about? What are you saying? We're being
okay, like the word, the word racist, like that's been traded in. Now it's anti-black. It's just a new trending word. We went from everything is racist to now everything is anti-black, and people don't even get clarification before they throw that word out there. And that's a result of hypersensitivity. If somebody said something about Puerto Ricans, like you went off on a tangent. You was like, Spaniard, y'all claim Spaniard, y'all claim Spaniard, y'all this, that. Let me tell you something. It's a diaspora thing. It is not a Latin or black thing. It is not a Latin or black thing. Because you said Puerto Ricans, you said Puerto Ricans claim Spain, right? You said Puerto Ricans want to be white. I can bring you a list of black people that want to be white and they're mixed with Cherokee.
Let's pause for the cause. Let me let her finish and then we'll pause for the cause. Because he's going to tell first blatant lie right here. So let me finish.
They're mixed with this, that, and the third. It's the same thing.
Jen, let's go back to the anti-black stuff you were talking about. Sweetie, you
what you mean anti-black?
You jump on that, then you immediately go back to, I'm not Spanish. Look.
What do you mean go back to? I've never claimed Spain, though. How can you make me claim something I've never claimed?
We're talking about anti-blackness, black people being hypersensitive about the word anti-black. Anti-black racism comes not just from the white supremacists, it comes from other people who are in the buffer class industry, meaning people who are not black. They have black ancestry, but people who don't identify with black, but you have buffers who have the same anti-black racism.
Now, can I call a hypocrite? Can I call a hypocrite?
Please do it, because I done bit through my bottom lip.
Because this is coming from a man who promotes and encourages black men to create that buffer class. Because as you are sitting up telling black men to go get women of no color and biracial women of no color, you're promoting that buffer class. By the way, that buffer class that black men are creating, she's going to let you know in there, her father is darker than Tariq. Her father is a black man. As he sits here and lies when these foundational black Americans are some of the most anti-black people on the face of the planet.
Mm-hmm. And it was really funny how he keeps twisting it to the whole Spanish thing when she's already like I don't say that, you said that, and he keeps bringing that up for a reason, and it obviously works. I mean, you could tell it even works in the chat. Like if you look, people really are triggered by her having a different culture by being black, but he keeps trying to bring the Spanish narrative in it to take away from, what did he just say? How I think someone in the chat was actually just saying, I was reading about how they said that she said something bad about black women, and I haven't heard it yet, unless he's talking about the criticism that she said about black people being sensitive, hypersensitive, or whatever, which I agree. But who talks worse about black women than Tariq Nesheed? Mm-hmm. Who does?
And somebody in the chat has a point. Why did he not marry his first daughter's mother? Probably because she was too dark for him. Because a man who sits there, because this is where it's particularly contradictory, because most of these buffer class have a mother of no color, whether it's the Spanish speaking ones who eat tacos and burritos, or the ones who's making burnt, scorched hamburger helper. The bottom line of it is most of them have a woman of no color for a mother. So he's saying that as he sits up with a buffer class that he married, he's married to a buffer class. The biracial people who are black and white are the biggest buffer class that has ever been created. And for him to claim he's a historian, but then act like he doesn't know that is disingenuous. You married the buffer class, sir.
Someone said that she said that black women chase rappers, and that the rappers chase the Latina women. Mm-hmm. I've seen black women do commentary saying that same thing all the time. So I'm not sure why that would be offensive.
That shouldn't be offensive because they do, i.e. Cardi B.
Right. I was just getting ready to say, weren't you guys talking about Cardi B last week?
Sam Santana and Joe Budden, perfect example. So she wasn't lying there. I heard what she said in there, and she was not lying. And the only way you would think that, and then he's like, oh, well, I mean, and y'all will hear it later, but he's like, oh, well, y'all throwing it at us. You, Mr. Pro-Black, you foundational Black American, pride in yourself. It shouldn't matter how much they throw it at you. You should be rejecting it because those are the buffer class, right?
Right.
I just think it's interesting she's able to have so much energy when she's speaking, because I know in these spaces, if a Black woman is outright being insulted and responds with anything but sugar, she's angry. She's, she's the problem with Black women, and, she doesn't know how to be feminine. It's like, but she has been hyper this whole time and has not been called angry, has not been called disrespectful, has not been used as, the problem with Latin women. None of this has been brought up. So I just think that's interesting too, the perception of a woman speaking with that much energy, not
he eventually
being
gets
ultra
there,
negative.
He eventually is
does he call her out on it eventually? Because I'm like, because a lot is going on.
Because her mother is not Black. That's why. It's because she has a non-Black mother. So therefore she's upscale. She would be a trick baby if her mother was Black and her father was Spanish, because that's what he said.
Is that true, dear, or not true?
That's true, but across the spectrum. There are Black people who feel the same way that you're talking about right now. There are Black people who don't want to identify as Black. And I'm talking about African Americans.
Those are usually people from immigrant cultures.
Did he really say though they're immigrant cultures? So,
he absolutely did.
So Waka Flocka, who said he's not Black, and what's her name? What's that chick that was Raven Simone, who said she's not Black?
There's so many of them saying that they're not Black. We hear them all the time. There's so many of them saying that.
All over social media, this movement where we're not Black, we're Aboriginal, indigenous, Moorish, sovereign citizens. Those aren't the ones who are denying. So those aren't these foundational Black. Those are foreigners, is what he's saying.
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought he was meaning when he said that, or the girl was meaning when she said Black people look at it as a scab. I thought it was like something that we want to pick off. Mm-hmm. Because that's kind of what came to my mind. And I agree. A lot of Black people, they feel that they want to be everything other than Black. They want to be mixed with something. I have Black people walking around 10% white talking about we're all mixed, just because they don't want to be, they don't want to be Black. So I guess maybe there's levels to this scab comment she's making, but I don't see anything that we can
she kind of gets into it. Yeah.
Let me ignore this comment because nobody's going to throw me off track. But like I said, the notion, whether you being an Aboriginal is a status. It's not a race. That's first and foremost. And I don't know why I have to explain to so-called intelligent thinking people that Aboriginal is not a race. It's a status. It is a classification. And it has a meaning. And it has a meaning that if you looked it up and typed into Google, what does it mean to be Aboriginal? You would know that it means that you are the original natural inhabitant of a plot of land. It's not a race. So, but when Black people use it, they're using it to say, I'm not Black, I'm Native, I'm Aboriginal, I'm Indigenous. They're doing it to separate themselves from their Blackness.
Yep, which is why there's so much confusion surrounding people that are Black, but from another culture or ethnicity. That's why a lot of people that are like, well, you think about it, like most Black Americans don't want to hear what a Black Haitian or a Black whoever from anywhere else has to say about anything else. They feel like they literally say it's racism. Like if someone from another country, a Black person from another country criticizes or said, and sometimes a lot of them do. Now, don't get me wrong. I would go the upwards of 75% of Black people from other nations have a bone to pick, have an issue with Black people. But a lot of times it's crap, right? But how can you say I'm racist against you? How can I be racist against another Black person? I can be a dum-dum. I can be ignorant. I can be an idiot towards them. I can be rude. But like, how can any Black person practice racism against another Black person?
Also, the whole Aboriginal thing too. It's funny. Australian Aboriginals know that they're Black. They were part of the Black Panther movement. But like when we're in America and people call themselves Aboriginal, they think something else. And keep in mind, other groups of Aboriginal people who haven't self-imposed that name on themselves don't even like being called Aboriginal. I mean, that is a word that was applied to them. And if you really look at the word, it means non-original. It doesn't even mean the original. Like if you just look at the root of the thing. So we self-impose these sort of labels on ourselves, and it's backward in its mindset, because a lot of the people who were given these labels are trying to throw them away, whereas we're trying to grasp them and want to mince words over if I'm being called Black or I'm being called Aboriginal, when it's like, maybe just get a whole new word altogether. I don't know how picking a European identifier a bunch of Black people don't want, who were given that identifier, is making any sort of point. You know, I sometimes we operate in confusion, but I guess that's what she's talking about, right? We've been so polluted as Black people that we will do anything to escape being a part of that collective. And Nyla, I think I heard you talking about this one time too. A lot of times when people who are not American Black say they're not Black, it's because they don't want to be associated with a particular culture, not necessarily skin color.
And I don't even